American 1381, contact departure, have a good flight.
American 1381, departure, good day.
I'm Mark Phelps with Flying Magazine, and we're here at Sun and Fun 2010 in Lakeland, Florida, and we're in the Warbird area.
In other words, there was evidence of the fact.
We're standing in front of a P51 Mustang with a Rolls-Royce designed, Packard-built Merlin engine, V12, and if you take a close look at this engine with the cowling off that the owner's been so gracious to do for us, you can see how tight everything is inside of that engine cowling. This was a retrofit. This was not the original engine of the airplane. The original one came with an Allison engine, also a V12, but this is a redesign of the whole airframe, and as you can tell, they did a real good job of squeezing everything in there. Now, the business end. The purpose of a Mustang is to shoot, and this is what they use. These are three 50 caliber machine guns, three on each wing, so it's a total of 6 50 caliber machine guns. As you can tell by looking at these gun ports, the gun barrels are staggered. This one is out a little further, this one is a little bit closer, and this one is actually recessed into the wing. And we'll go around and take a look at the gun bay so you can see how the guns are configured. Now here's where the guns rode on the P51, and you can see these are Browning 50 caliber machine guns. This is where the ammunition is stored, and the ammunition would feed into the guns, and they were actuated by a trigger on the control stick. One of the interesting things that you can see is as you look at the actual rounds, some of them have got red tips, and they were coded as the different types of ammunition there were. Some of it was penetrating, some of it was tracer. That was so that the armorers would know, and they would do like one tracer round for every 5 or 6 rounds, and that way the pilot would be able to see where his guns were shooting. And behind me is an example of the AD-5 Skyraider. This was the largest single-engine piston airplane developed for the US military ever, and they saw extensive service in the Vietnam conflict. This particular example is a multi-seat. It's powered by a Wright R3350 radial engine, 3,000 horsepower. And this particular version is a naval version, as you can tell, because of the folding wings. It has a tailhook for carrier operations. And this one is owned and operated by the Cavanaugh Air Museum. This is a Hawker Sea Fury. This is a British Royal Navy airplane designed as a fighter. It was designed later in World War II. And if you take a look, you'll see it's got a very large radial engine, a huge 4-bladed propeller. Each blade is about as tall as I am. This is a very large fighter designed to fly off of carriers. And we're going to end our tour of the Warbird area with a look at the Douglas C-47. This was an airplane that was designed as an airliner, the DC-3, in the middle 30s, and was pressed into service during the war as a transport. General Eisenhower said that the C-47 was one of the primary reasons that we won the war, and it was a very important piece of equipment. The one behind me is painted up in the colors that you would see on June 6, 1944, which was D-Day. It's set up as though it were a jump plane for the airborne forces that flew in and jumped into France before the invasion actually started. The stripes that you see on the wings and on the fuselage were for identification purposes. Anybody on the ground or anybody up in the air would be able to tell immediately that this was an Allied aircraft and not a German aircraft. So they did this literally the night before the invasion, and most of them were done with rollers and paintbrushes that were put on these airplanes at the last minute, so that there was no chance that the word would get out that these were Allied airplanes, and that was the way that they were configured. It's a twin-engine, piston-powered airplane. In civilian configuration, it was meant to carry 21 or 22 passengers. In the military, it would sometimes carry 3 times that many people. Their maximum gross takeoff weight envelope was expanded ridiculously during the war, and they would take off with much, much greater weight than the designers ever dreamed that they would. So thanks for spending some time with us walking around looking at some of these great airplanes. And now I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the show.